In this video, I want to show you a specific capability of ChatGPT which enables integration with an external system. We will discuss the architecture and the flows that are involved in an example integration scenario where ChatGPT will provide an integration to Azure DevOps. So this enables a conversational stream between ChatGPT and the sprints defined in Azure DevOps. Specifically, we can see the status of the sprint in terms of tasks that are assigned in the sprint. And also we can change the status by closing an existing task or creating new tasks. Now, the key ingredient in ChatGPT which supports this integration is the definition of a custom GPT. When we define a custom GPT, we can also access a feature which are the actions that may be defined for a custom GPT. Through an action, we can integrate an external API. Now, in this video, I will not show you the specific steps of how we create a custom GPT, but you can reference my blog and you will find the link in the comment where I provide a detailed tutorial on how we create a custom GPT. In addition, in the comments, you will also find the reference to my GitHub repository where you will find the full source code of the backend integration that has been implemented on Azure Functions and coded with C#. Okay, here we have my posts as referenced in the comment of the video. We have different sections. I will focus on the architecture so that we understand what we will then see in the demo following at the end of this video. So there are two different integration points, design time and runtime. So what happens at design time, which is basically when we are building and defining the custom GPT. So this happens in this UI builder, which is this component, where basically we define external actions by providing an open API specification. Now, open API, important, we need to be compliant with version 3. GPT will not accept anything which falls before this version. We can provide the specification either statically, so basically copy and pasting the definition of the specification, or by providing a URL, an external URL, a public URL, which for my case, for example, if you're having Azure Functions which can expose an endpoint with the OpenAPI specification, this has been provided as a direct input, which is the second way of consuming. Coming out of this stage, GPT will then understand and analyze what he sees in the OpenAPI. For our specific case, he is seeing the 3 actions that provide the list of tasks and the capability of creating a new task or resolving, closing an existing task. Now, what happens instead at runtime? At runtime, we are clearly going full stack. So from GPT, we are invoking an action or a retrieval on our Azure function, and then we may be reading or creating, so changing status in the Azure board. The integration between function and Azure DevOps is provided again over REST, passing through an SDK. And you'll see this then in my source code when you access the GitHub repository. How does this invoke action actually take place? This is function calling. So in LLM, we have the concept of function calling where GPT will understand based on the prompt when he actually requires an external interaction. So we have 2 different cases. Basically, we have what we call a standard prompt. This is when, for instance, as a user, I say, what is Azure DevOps? So to answer this question, GPT will understand that it does not require a function call. He will resolve this using only the internal knowledge base of OpenAI. In that case, there is no external interaction. He will come back and provide a response, which is the standard flow that we all consume when we interact with ChatGPT. On the other hand, when instead we provide a prompt, for instance, show me my sprint breakdown, over here GPT will understand that to answer this question, he has a bunch of external actions that he can use, which are basically supporting the function call. And for this specific case, for the sprint breakdown, he will call externally get sprint tasks on the Azure Function API, the specific action. This will of course fall back to Azure DevOps. DevOps will provide the set of tasks, and this will then come back up the chain to ChatGPT, which will then combine the information retrieved from this external system together with the response that he provides as a standard. So basically we'll embed the information retrieved into his response. Now let's see this in action with the demo. Now to the right we have our Azure DevOps. We are on the sprint board, and we are seeing the tasks that are currently in sprint, and we have an equal distribution between tasks in to do, doing, and done. To the left we have ChatGPT. Here is the basic ChatGPT 4 model. Instead, top left, I can browse my custom GPTs. If I would want to create a new ChatGPT, a new custom GPT, I would go to Explore GPTs, and from there we access the bot builder. But we will see this in the, you can see this in my post. I will now select Azure DevOps Buddy. This is my custom GPT. And I will start with the first question, which is basically interacting without using function calling. So if I say, for instance, what is Azure DevOps? Over here, I would expect, let's say, a standard response, which is using the internal knowledge base of OpenAI. And in fact, over here, we are seeing a response which is based on the products. So GPT is telling us, oh yeah, of course, we have Azure boards, we have repos, we have pipelines, plans, and artifacts. Well, this maps exactly with the Azure DevOps product, as we are seeing. So this is something that is obviously pre-trained. It's in its knowledge base, and is providing that response. Instead, if I stimulate, for instance, show me the task breakdown of the sprint, over here instead I would expect to stimulate an external integration. This is in fact talking to DevOps GPT Azure Web Sites. This is the endpoint which exposes my Azure function, and we are also seeing that I executed 3 different calls. One call for the to do, one call for doing, and one call for done. So this is actually 3 different calls to the backend, which then provides the distribution of 2, 2, and 2, which is what we have in Azure DevOps. If now I say, great, show me the specific tasks that are in progress. And when I say in progress, ChatGPT, the custom GPT, will understand that we mean doing. And this is obviously an NLP capability of ChatGPT in resolving concepts to calls that then happen on the external function call, because the API expects doing. If we pass in progress, the API would not work. So this is done obviously by ChatGPT. And over here we see the 2 different tasks. So for this, GPT is also capable of rendering based on the information that is then provided as an output. So at the API definition level in OpenAPI, we only say that link is a string, but when he receives a hyperlink, he then understands that he can actually render this as a hyperlink. And if I follow this link, I would actually land on the task definition. So I would be in Azure DevOps, and I can of course interact with the task as I would in the DevOps product. What we can do here now is start stimulating also actions in terms of commands that change the status of DevOps. So for instance, if I say, okay, but for device management, I have actually completed this task. So here it's as if I'm telling GPT to complete the task. He will understand that I'm trying to complete the task, but he will also say, okay, great, but I need a comment or a reason to close this task. And this is because in the instructions that we provided when creating the GPT, we told ChatGPT to ask for a resolution. You cannot close a task if you do not pass a resolution, and this is why he is asking. So I would say no problem. The implementation of this task has been completed. All tests have been conducted with the product team. No further actions required for this task. This will be retrieved at this point as a resolution case. ChatGPT will also ask for a confirmation. This is a post action. When we have a post semantic on the open API, this will also add a layer of control, which is that confirmation that ChatGPT is asking. So again, we have a hyperlink for the task that has just been closed, but most important, if I refresh my status in DevOps, I would see that the task is now done. If I open the task definition, the task detail, I will see that it's done. I would also see that the comment provided as a resolution has been reported in the task as a comment. Implementation of the task has been completed, all tests have been conducted. So this has obviously been added at the application level in the integration layer of Azure Functions, where we are managing this component. But GPT did, of course, pass this correctly to the API invocation. Now, as a last example, I want to show you what happens if we do this and we say, great, can you now create a new task? So here we are trying to expand what is the backlog of our sprint, and GPT will say again, yes, of course we can do this, but you must provide a title and a description. And I say, of course, this is again in the instructions because we provided this as an indication to our chatbot. So here we'll say, yes, we should integrate PayPal as a new payment provider for the checkout process. So if I pass this, GPT will say, okay, but careful, because I need also a description. Because title and description, so there are two parameters required. So I will say, great, use that as a description instead for the title, and I will say PayPal integration. And he should understand that I'm switching the two, and he would then say title PayPal integration, description integrate PayPal. I will confirm and say, yes, please add to the sprint, because there is also an additional mandatory constraint, which is, should I add it to the sprint or should I add it to the backlog? And over here we're saying, please add to the sprint. GPT will ask us again to confirm, because this is a post action. At this point I will confirm, and I would now expect again in my sprint backlog to see this new task, PayPal integration. If I run a refresh in DevOps, this would already be there. We actually see PayPal integration. We have a description. The description is saying integrate PayPal as a new payment provider for the checkout process, which is the description that we provided. And this closes the demo for today. So I hope you enjoyed this content. For any suggestions or additional information on this topic, on Azure Cloud or in general on integration, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thank you.